Thank you. We're going to start in a minute. Hello, Ms. Washington. So, you okay? It is 6:31 p.m. I'm going to call this meeting to order. The first item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the Woodlands Middle High School presentation. And I was going to say, I saw them here, but we're going to go into the audience, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share with you some of the highlights of what we're doing here at Woodlands Middle High School. So we're going to go through some of the major points of what we've been doing so far this year. There are a list of lead teachers that we have that are PLC and our lead teachers, in which have participated in the opportunity that Dr. Iverson has given us in the Targeted Leadership Program, and all of them have been actively participating. I think it's approximately like once a month, every so often. So, yeah.
Good evening. So the role of the PLC, so members of the PLC LT attend meetings which targeted leadership consulting in order to learn about the cycle of professional learning. So the cycle of professional learning is really focused on powerful teaching practices, data collection, professional reading, and classroom visits between teachers. The Woodlands Middle High School PLC focuses on all of these same attributes to really amalgamate the goals of the district as well as the school. So for example, when we're talking about data, we examine iReady, state test scores, Regents exams, and regular classroom data to identify the needs of our individual students based on the data and goal setting for both teachers and students. So this is just some examples of collecting and charting data. So we use the New York State report card, EduClimber, Lyric, which Mr. David Lease has been very helpful in coming into our PLCs to meet with our lead teachers and the teachers in general to show them how to gain access to the level 1 reporting through the state and Lyric, the iReady data, as well as TWR data through 7 through 9. So besides all of that, we also have the individual content data that all of our content-specific teachers collect as well. So we have an abundance of data that we really look at, organize, and analyze, and use that to help inform our instruction and next steps in how we can progress. Additionally, we have SMART goals. So our students and teachers have begun making SMART goals. So students struggling with identifying and using information from a diagram or text to solve a problem. Students have difficulties with reading comprehension on longer passages. Students may not understand what the question is asking, and students are not able to draw a comparison from what is read and the ability to apply the reference tables or graphs. So these are some of the focuses that we're really looking on to help increase our students' proficiencies and abilities to accomplish these things.
If I go back a little to this one, I just want to say that the teachers really took a hard look at what they've been doing and looking at their data and analyzing it. And it's to their credit in which the teachers felt open enough within their PLCs to have these honest conversations and to examine how and really do the research and the work on how to use this data and to best instruct our students. And that's when this came in with instructional strategies. So the PLCs right now are really analyzing which instructional strategy they're going to use in their classrooms that will work best for our students to achieve and to do better. So these are some of the things that they have been discussing, and then they're revisiting this again. They're going back and saying, well, this instructional strategy worked, and we're going to continue using it, or it didn't work, let me try something else. And the good thing about our PLCs also is that they communicate interdepartmentally. So if one teacher has Johnny and Johnny's doing very well in Ms. Belfiore's class, well, let's look at the strategies Ms. Belfiore is using that maybe Ms. Rella could also use and incorporate. So we also have a very united faculty in which they have these open, honest conversations when it comes to instructional strategies. The next step was peer visitations. Under peer visitations, our teachers really embrace this. They welcome seeing one another, and they feel like they're learning from each other. And it started first only within the department, but now they're visiting outside the department, which is very important to them. So they enjoy seeing each other, and they're sharing within their PLCs what they see. The hardest challenge to this was that Mr. Brady, who does our coverages every day, has a struggle with putting in for a ASOPing when a teacher wants to, instead of doing their duty, going to visit another teacher. So that's one of the biggest challenges we're facing now. But hopefully, by now, we have finished our second marking period. The teachers have visited at least one individual, one other teacher within their department, and one other teacher outside their department. So that's what we've been doing with the PLCs. So if you look at the 6-step cycle, we are pretty much right now completed up to the 4th step of the cycle. That's where we are now.
So just to speak to some of our intervention and enrichment services that we offer here as well. In the middle school, we have the Wilson program. So that's really intensive decoding and encoding small group instruction. So that's really more of our Tier 3 MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. So that is one of the programs that we use in order to help bring our students up to grade level in terms of reading. AAS Lab, so that's Math and English Lab. Again, we utilize iReady in order to help build proficiency. So we're really targeting students that are below grade level or approaching grade level. We've identified those students, and they're in these additional classes in order to help build their capacity so that they can do well. Sure.
One thing that we did this year with the AIS and lab, which is really different that we did last year, and we see that the students have progressed, is that we're using their personalized instruction in iReady. So that's what they're doing in the labs. So that's we see a progress that the students have made in their exams.
Additionally, we have LLI, which is very similar to Wilson. Again, supports reading and comprehension. This year, we've also, instead of our academic support, which is typically what we had used for students that needed additional supports, we've instituted a resource room. So every student that is classified as an ICO student, it's integrated co-teaching. If they have at least one class of integrated co-teaching, they're also then automatically scheduled for resource room, which is a full period every day in which they get to meet in small groups. I think the max is 5. Yeah, 5. So you're only going to have 5 kids in one class at a time, working individually with one student to help, again, build those proficiencies across content. Additionally, we have AP and Regents Prep. So January and June, we were able to offer Regents Prep to some of our students so that they could take advantage of, again, getting that additional exposure and building their content knowledge. That way they can be successful on these state exams. Our AP/Regents Prep actually started today, and it's so far going very wonderfully. Thank you again for allowing us to do that. After school enrichment, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I believe that's for the middle school, so that's like a homework help, so it's not just focused on these tests, but additionally, we wanted to start young and focus on the entire school, so 7th and 8th grade have that opportunity to go and get that extra help from certified teachers as well. And Power Lunch, which is also middle school, so 5th period, so teachers are scheduled, so if students are unable to stay after school, then they have the ability to come up during their lunchtime to meet with teachers.
Something that we're really proud of and that we know that is working is our TWR. We have extended it into our high school also. So for 7th and 8th graders, these are the statistics of how they're doing. From the beginning of the year to the end of the year, you see there has been very good strides for our students. And as a result of that, we see that our students actually won when it came to the TWR Black History Month contest. These are the students that we have recognized. We're actually having something for them in the Innovation Lab on April 28th to highlight their success or their achievement in recognizing them for winning these awards. And in parentheses, they could win from an iPad to a tablet to a gift card. And that's a result of our teachers working very diligently with them in this TWR program that is working. It's just not an ELA program. It's across the board. They incorporate it into every class. And actually, Mr. Ricetta today mentioned to me how much he enjoys this program and wants to incorporate it more in his math classes as part of writing. Yeah.
I just wanted to highlight something, too. I know it seems like all of our kids, grades 9 through 12, first, second, third, honorable mention, first, second, third. This is a nationwide contest with over 1,200 submissions. So I know it might seem like, wow, Woodlands were they the only ones to enter this contest? No, not at all. Our kids just took all the top honors. So I don't think that is something to be glossed over. It's a national contest, over 1,200 submissions, and our kids just did excellent. So we're very, very proud of them. And again, it speaks to the work that's being done in the classroom.
We're just going to switch gears a little bit here to the social-emotional SEL, what we're doing in our classrooms. So every single month in the middle school, our guidance counselor is pushing in to the different classrooms. Ms. Ortiz changes it based on the needs of the students that she sees in the previous months. So, for example, May is not going to be the mental health awareness month. She's going to, April, she switched it over to time management and study skills because she knew that with all the testing coming up, that's what our students needed at that time. So these are things that we are focusing on, and it goes hand in hand with central office direction, which it came to restorative justice. So this goes in with, when she pushes into the classroom, she does circle time with them. Okay. This is a program that we started off, and we're going to push it through. We started off with the 7th graders. If you remember, we did like a pilot program last year under the guidance counselor that we had previously, our 8th graders. So now we have our 7th graders, and our 8th graders are trained in this peer mediation program, and we want to take them and push them also into the 9th grade. We wanted to continue through. Ms. Roach and Mr. Gaines are also very interested in doing this with us moving forward. So Ms. Ortiz started them with their training, and now we're going to have the program by next year move into the high school into 9th grade with the students that were trained. So it's basically the students they have to be willing to come to have these open discussions and these mediations among themselves. So instead of going into posting it on Snapchat or Twitter or whatever they post it on, instead of doing that, coming and having open conversations, and for them to come to their resolutions. It's for us to give them the answers, but for them to deal with it. The last one with restorative practices, which we're doing, it's a direction from Dr. Macaluso and Dr. Iverson that started. We are now, because our new focus is that we usually don't want to just, these are the consequences, these are the punishments. We also want kids to realize how their behavior has affected other students. And we want to give the victim also a voice. So that's what restorative justice does. It gives the victim a voice, ability to express how they felt after they have been bullied or injured in any way. That's what Ms. Ortiz has been working with the students when it comes to these monthly circles and with this peer mediation. Okay? So these are all different things that she's been doing. The no contact contracts, the mediations with the school psychologist. So we are like a team up there, and all of us are working together. Okay?
So just to provide kind of a concrete example in terms of what restorative justice would look like. Probably 3 weeks ago, we had some kids playing around in the bathroom, wetting paper towels and throwing them at each other, just doing horseplay in the bathroom as a high school student. So a teacher alerted me, we came down, and instead of punishing the students, we had a conversation about the impact it made, what they should have been doing, and then asked them to clean up after themselves. Afterwards, we brought them down, and I had them speak with the school janitor to talk about the impact that something like that does have on it. So it's not just, we're not looking to punish, we're looking to educate. So in the heat of a moment, kids are kids. They're not thinking about what they're doing or the impact that it has. So I think it's a really appropriate and building block step for these students to really understand that, hey, my actions affect this person or that person or this person. And it's not just, it is fun and silly, but additionally, there are things that need to happen and there are other people that are affected. So that really, we want to try and build on that as much as possible to kind of open our kids' eyes to say, hey, what we do affects other people. And this is why we shouldn't do it. Instead of it's just Mr. Brady or Ms. Henriquez or a school counselor saying something, they're getting a different vantage point on it, and their perception then changes, and they might think twice about how they act in the future. But yeah, we do all these wonderful things. So in terms of communication, so Mr. Smith obviously sends out the Woodlands Weekly News Blast. So this year we celebrate everything weekly, all of the wonderful things that our students do, as well as any of the information that needs to be pushed out to the community. So it's another aspect of letting the community know all of the wonderful things that are happening here at Woodlands Middle High School. We have a Woodlands Middle School newsletter. We have principal coffee talks, PTSA participation. I believe our membership is up from last year. I know Ms. St. Armand is not here, but she'd be happy to tout that stat. IB informative sessions and scheduling meetings. So a lot of the communication that we've tried to have this year has been in response to parent voice and things that they're interested in and things that they want to hear more about. So we've tried to provide and schedule in more opportunities to be as transparent and informative as possible about what's going on and all of the wonderful things that are happening here at Woodlands. Thank you very much for your time and attention. We really appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Warner?
Okay, thank you. Very good. So, just a couple of questions. Earlier on, there was a set of strategies for helping students to achieve, and one of them was KWL charts. What's a KWL chart?
What you know, what you want to learn, and what you're ready.
what you know, what you want to learn,
What you learned, what you know, what you want to learn, what you learn.
and what you learn.
Learn,
Good,
yeah.
good, good. Okay. And a second.
So that's important because that gives the teacher the ability to know what the child, kind of like also where the lesson is going to lead, what they're interested in learning.
Yeah, right, and
So it
it
gives the
hooks in
child
prior
those voices
knowledge
to
too,
yeah,
which makes good
exactly.
sense. And if you don't have the prior knowledge, oh, here's the piece that's missing. So you
Mm-hmm.
can figure that out. Is it motivation? Is it prior knowledge?
Yes.
Is it, yeah, okay, good, good, good. Thank you. So I have, I guess, one other question. So there's restorative justice, and then I would say there's more like traditional disciplinary methods. And I think there's an old 80-20 rule that says that 80% of the time when you ask for cooperation, when things are not too intense, you get it, and the other 20% turn out to be the hardcore, difficult cases. Is there a switch? Do you go back and forth between using the one kind of discipline or another, depending upon which works in which case? Or does restorative justice work better than the other, and so you go after restorative justice in the difficult cases? I don't know.
Well,
How do the two systems interact?
Well, restorative justice does not replace the punitive. So you do both hand in hand. So the student does receive the consequence, but instead of just allowing the student to come back after a suspension or allowing them to be like, okay, you have lunch detention for a week, you have to have also the reparative or the restorative side to it.
Okay.
So they go hand in hand.
Hand in hand. It's not one.
A lot
you
of
don't
people believe
flip
that.
a switch and go from one to the other.
It's not.
It's this plus that.
Exactly.
Great.
It has to be together.
Thank you.
Did you have a question? Hi. Thank you for the presentation tonight. I just had a couple of questions. I loved the middle school SEL lessons that was up on the screen there with all the different months and addressing different issues each month.
Yes.
That actually came up in different conversations. I don't know if they do that in the high school or I saw Miss Rossi come in some of the other school buildings, but I mean, to directly address SEL issues, different issues each month is an awesome goal. So I just wanted to draw attention to that because I think that's great. I don't know who came up with that idea in the middle school, but it was a good idea. And I saw up here you have the guidance counselor doing a lot of the work. You have the social worker as well involved. You have one social worker, correct?
Yes, Mr. Gaines does a lot of exercise going from the first, second, and third floor, and he helps us both.
It's a lot. So I did want to talk about prior knowledge, and we have gotten recently at the, I think, Education Wellness meeting, some test results, at least from the iReady, which feeds into the middle school, but then leads into the high school and performance. How do you guys feel that things are being addressed, some of the deficits that came out of COVID? I know, with some juniors and seniors that were learning things online, there may be some gaps and some holes. I'm a parent here, so I'm not gonna draw from my particular situation, but I do know that there are some gaps in learnings that occurred due to remote learning, and even when kids were out sick, right, or family members out sick. How is that being addressed at the middle high school?
So I think, and this kind of loops back into the 6-step cycle, is really, first step is identifying those gaps. So that's where all of the data collection comes in. Is again, we never want to assume that students know something, right? We were talking about KWL. So we need to take a look at the data to see where those gaps exist. Find and identify those gaps. Is it across the board? Is it with a particular subset of students? If it is a subset of students, are they placed appropriately in terms of AIS? Are they getting any sort of MTSS intervention services? Right. So that's kind of the first step is looking at that data, identifying the students. The second step would then be to go ahead and identify, okay, these students are struggling in, let's say, English, but it's not all English. It could be one particular standard, or mathematics. It could be one particular standard. Identifying that standards, and then as a department, identifying strategies that we can utilize in order to try and bridge those gaps. So I know district-wide we started using the 3-read strategy, especially with mathematics. And again, it ties hand in hand. English and mathematics are a lot of the word problems, being able to decode what exactly it is that students are being asked to do in terms of a task or a problem. So getting the data, identifying it, and then addressing it through instruction. But then it's a cycle. We go back, we look, was this effective, was this not effective? What do we need to do or change in order to bridge those gaps further?
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Did you call it 3-read strategy?
Yes, it's one of the strategies we're using, yeah. I mean,
Okay. I'll
teachers
ask
have
about
a
that
large toolbox of,
Okay.
of strategies, instructional strategies.
Wonderful.
And it varies, too, from, I know, like the science department is doing claim reasoning and evidence, or claim evidence reasoning. So each department has really identified the particular strategy that they want to focus on to support the needs of the students and address those gaps.
Thank you. Last question. Since you did mention math, I know this year we hired a math coach, which is great. We're trying to address the deficits that we had there. And of course, across the state, there's kind of a crisis when it comes to mathematics. But being that mathematics is cumulative, and we do know that there are some holes and some gaps. Are we looking at the fact that we don't offer any non-Regents math courses for our students? Students that may not be able to do the higher level mathematics. There's a push for algebra for all, for example, in 8th grade. And what if our students had a gap, right? So like the current 8th graders are in what grade? We're in 5th grade, I think, when COVID hit. And then through their 6th grade math year, they were online, right? We did the 1 week in, 1 week out. So there may be some gaps. What if an 8th grade student is not ready for algebra for all? Or a 9th grade student is not ready for a Regents level course? What options are there?
Sure, great question. So we were very reflective at the end of last year, especially looking at some of the Regents results and seeing what some of those gaps were. So this year, we steered away from algebra for all, and now we have Math 8. So the majority of us are middle school, our 8th grade students right now, I'd say are enrolled in Math 8 because we did reflectively look back and say, wow, these kids have been through a lot. Maybe we don't need to push them. Some students, yes. We want to. So the thing is, we want to be able to provide the opportunity for our students to excel and succeed. But for our students that need that additional layer of support, we want to have programming in place to provide that support. So that's where we went this year, Math 8 and algebra in the middle school in 8th grade. So we are very reflective and understanding. We look at the data. We make changes. It's not this has got to be algebra for all. This is, we're going to live and die by that. No, we need to do what best supports our students. So that was the decision this past year to introduce Math 8 as an alternative to provide that additional extra year of math content knowledge so that when the students do take algebra in 9th grade, they have that foundational knowledge to really be successful.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. When you say this year, you mean right now?
Yes, ma'am.
It's wonderful. And then is there an option for 9th and 10th grade, for example, to not have to take a Regents or not be in a Regents course?
So we don't right now, no. Not in 9th and 10th grade. Once you get up to 11th and 12th, we do offer some non-Regents courses.
Okay.
But we want to set the bar high for our students. Because we find that when we set the bar high, our students meet that bar. I don't want to ever I don't want to say an easy out to our 9th and 10th graders to say, oh, I'm going to go for the non-Regents one because it's going to be easier. We want to hold them to that standard so that they can meet that standard. And our kids do wonderfully there. I think with the right supports, and if we continue to be reflective as a school, then we can continue to build that toolbox for our students to be successful.
Thank you. Last question. Is there encouragement, this really, really last question, is there encouragement for all students to take an art, like an art class or a music class or a chorus class?
Yes, very much so. So generally when I do scheduling, I will mass load So I'll try and load everyone into an art class at least freshman year, if they're not in band or if they're not in chorus already. So I think, I can't remember the numbers offhand, but yes, if they are not in band or chorus, if they do not make that selection, then the other selection starting freshman year would be studio art.
So thank you. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for presenting tonight. This is not a normal high school presentation, a presentation without the leader of the building. So I have wonderings behind that and wondering why we couldn't push it off so the principal could be here. But that's just me having a wondering. But I want to say thank you for presenting tonight. But I do have some questions since President Mayers brought up math. I like to bring up ELA. So in the middle school, when it comes to ELA, how many novels do they read throughout the year? Wait, don't answer that question yet. I also want to know, how do they see themselves within the school and within the curriculum? And then the third part of that question is, how are cultures represented in the middle high school? So first, how many novels do they read? How do they see themselves through the curriculum and throughout the school? And how are cultures represented throughout this building?
Well, they do an average between 3 and 4 in the classrooms. The novels that are chosen that they choose are novels that are culturally aware, that the students could find themselves. The last one, when I observed the classroom, it was based on, they were looking at how children lived in third world countries, and they were comparing themselves and how different their lifestyles are. So more appreciative of what they have. So I think that the students and the teachers do an excellent job in bringing in the students to reflect and to see themselves in their day-to-day teaching or the day-to-day reading or the day-to-day learning. I mean, I don't know,
Okay, and then
I lost track of your last question.
how are cultures represented in the middle high school? Cultures.
Culture. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we do a number of different cultural celebrations throughout the year. Yeah, well, representations, celebrations. So we have Hispanic Heritage Month, which starts, I believe, September 15th through October 15th. We do Black History Month. We do Chinese New Year, Asian History Month, excuse me. March was Women's History. April is now Autism Awareness. So we do try and make it a point to celebrate the different cultures that exist within the school. Our ESL population, our L population, is growing. So really providing the additional supports and bringing awareness. I think a lot of our kids feel comfortable within the school. We provide the supports. Everyone is very friendly. Overall, this school is a great example of how diversity comes together to celebrate one another, because the number of different cultural representations that exist within the school and the way that they all interact, it's really beautiful. It's really interwoven, and we celebrate that. So it's really, we have the Lasso Club, we have, I think it's Glenn, Black History Engineers, Black Student Union. So we really try and provide as many opportunities to celebrate culture as possible.
Okay, thank you. And you listed a lot of interventions on that slide, and I just want to know, what are the actual enrichment classes, opportunities for students that are proficient? What are we giving to them also? Meaning not just interventions. What are the enrichments that we have in our high school?
Sure. So I know, at least programmatically, the number of courses that we offer. Our course catalog continues to grow. We just completed our 5-year IB review and got great remarks from IB. They were very impressed, especially with our SEL program. I think they tried to get Mr. Giarusso and Mr. McCoy to present in Toronto at an IB convention, but it had already been booked up. But we're doing wonderful things. I think we're adding IB Biology, IB Sports Medicine Health, IB Design looks like it's going to run. So just programmatically, I think we're moving on to Ceramics 3. So we offered ceramics, and it just blew up 2 years ago. So then last year, or this current school year, we offered a Ceramics 2. Next year, we're growing into a Ceramics 3. We're providing photography.
And the clubs themselves offer opportunities for the student outside the school to participate in a community or outside activities.
Clubs. Yeah.
I think Mr. Mensch just brought them out to participate. I'm trying to remember where he took them. But they have outside different schools, different states. What was it, Mr.? I'm blanking out. Mr. Mensch, and they just took them to also to a math competition in science. So it's not just within the building, so they have enrichments through the clubs that they have. Mr. Shikaporsha does with the engineering club, the young black, he actually had the NASA, a group of NASA, like I have a virtual meeting with the students that they could discuss.
Okay, so this is the last two. So in reference to Trustee Warner was discussing restorative justice and then traditional. So, and you use that word and it kind of triggered me, Trustee Warner, because traditional education, the system itself historically was not designed for people of color. So when you say traditional, it is a very oppressive setting a lot of times for people of color. So I just wanted to bring, and I'm just going to ask a favor of the administration in front of me, is like when we have to suspend, but we know from research that when we suspend, it is a pipeline to prison, especially for boys of color. So if you guys can do more research around it, I know Dr. Macaluso is very aware of this, and just really try to find some restorative practices that would keep our children in school, and so that they're continuing to learn, because black boys are suspended 5 times more than their counterpart who's white, who does the same exact thing. So it's just something for us in the community to be aware of and not always use what traditionally has really oppressed people. So it's just stuff to think about. Just wanted to bring it to your attention because you are the flagship of this school. And I also want to bring to your attention the attendance letter in reference to the way that we're communicating with parents about their children's attendance. We said phone blast and we said teacher communication, but all the times that's not happening. And I'm just wondering if we could be more welcoming and nurturing to all of our community. Because if I'm a parent who can't speak the language, or I'm a parent who might not have my citizenship, or I'm a parent that's working 5 different jobs, I might be insecure. I don't always trust the school system. And I might be insecure, and I might not know how to communicate. So I'm just, as you guys go on, like I said, I thank you, because this is not easy to always present. So this is not an attack at all. This is just a partnership. If we can figure out a way to really embrace our community and ensure that our children are in classes, and that we all want, of course you do, but we want them to be successful. I brought this up personally in an email to all of administration, but I wanted to make it known because there are parents who are not going to respond to a phone blast. And I'm just wondering if we can think of some other ways. But I thank you. I'm not asking you to solve it. Okay. I just wanted to bring it to your attention because you were here, and I was going to bring it to Dr. Iverson's attention, but since this is high school, I might as well bring it up now.
No, I was just going to respond that we appreciate your feedback because that's how we grow. You know, there are always areas for improvement, and I think communication has been identified as one of those areas. And so I thank you for that feedback because that is something that we can work on. I know with the attendance letters, I'll conduct the meetings. I do speak some Spanish, but when I don't feel as proficient enough, we do utilize other staff members in the building to really make it as welcoming and inviting as possible. I know when we reach out to set up those attendance meetings for students that maybe are approaching that attendance gap, our secretaries will call. So it's not just the phone blast, but you get a personalized phone call. I know Ms. Pineda does a great job. She's also bilingual, so she speaks Spanish as well, so she's able to not only sometimes participate in those attendance meetings as a translator if Ms. Almonte or Ms. Dominguez are not present, or Ms. Henriquez. So we do recognize that. But again, I think any feedback that we can take, that we can digest and then make moves on and grow and learn, that's something that is appreciated. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Are there any other trustees with questions, comments? Mr. Pineda?
Thank you. I only have one question. I'll keep it brief. Earlier in the presentation, there was a slide on social emotional learning and pushing in on a monthly schedule for each of the classes. My one question is, if there were a way to increase the frequency so it wouldn't be monthly, what would be a more appropriate frequency, and what resources would you guys need to be able to do that?
That's an excellent question. That's what we've been looking for, trying to go into the classrooms more often. Our difficulties is with all the testing that we have. So the classes that don't have the testing, that's where we mostly usually go through. And also our staff, we only have one guidance counselor in the middle school. So she, and one social worker. So she finds it difficult. She does the best that she can do. And Miss Gruffy, who's our 8th grade social studies teacher, and Miss Wise, our 7th grade social studies teacher, are open for them to come in. So they plan ahead. But usually we also push into the physical education classes, but it's very difficult for one person and with the examination that we have.
Okay, so it sounds like really it's a staffing issue at this point for the most part.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's mostly. But we will welcome to have more. We try as much as possible. Like we also pull, I pull the kids every Wednesday. I have different groups that I have lunch with. So during their 5th period class, I'll meet them in the Freelo Center. So Mr. Gaines will pull another group during 5th period into his office. So we try as much as possible to target as many kids as we can.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Next, we're going to move on to Ms. Raymond. The next item on our, thank you, Mr. Brady and Ms. Henriquez. Next on our agenda is the budget presentation, item B2. And so we're going to turn the meeting over to Ms. Lisa Raymond and our treasurer, Amy Ashley Moore.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the April 11th, 2023 budget presentation for the 2023-24 school year. Thank you. Okay, so the 22-23-2024 proposed budget includes program efficiencies. We looked at ways of creating efficiencies within our existing organizational structure. Special education requirements, we've added 3 additional teachers. The early childhood program teacher year, that will now, all of our teachers will be on the same number of days that they, in their teacher year for starting next year. We looked at supplies and materials, contractual items. We have decided to go with a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant to see what our needs will be here, a college and career readiness teacher, and a security coordinator stipend. So if you look at the budget by the functions, there are 6 functions in any budget. The first is the general support. These are all the 1,000 codes. And you will see that the general support for next year is increasing by $571,888. That is mainly due to salaries and the increase in fuel, gas, and electricity that we have experienced this year. Once the energy performance contract is done and completed, you will see that our utilities will decrease, as has been promised in the energy performance contract, so we should see a significant savings there. Instruction is the largest of all of the functions, which it should be. This is where we budget for all of our teachers, teacher assistants, health services, psychologists, guidance counselors, social workers, et cetera, everything for our students. And that is going to increase by 3.81%. This is also where you would find the college and career readiness teacher that we have budgeted for, the special ed teachers that I previously mentioned, and the ECP teacher conversion. Pupil transportation, this is for all of our transportation needs, both in-house and those students that we transport to any private schools. That every year, the transportation contract can only increase by the CPI as is published in May of that calendar year. It cannot go over that. So we have to forecast what that is going to be. Currently, right now, CPI is approximately 6.02. We've budgeted between 6 and 7% here, and you'll see that it's an 8.1% increase, and that's because what we budgeted for this year and what was published in May was a little less, so we had to make up for that in the next school year. Employee benefits here includes all of our health insurance. We have 3 different health insurance plans. Our largest is Swiss Chip, and we already know that that is increasing by 7% next year. We haven't found out about the other 2 smaller health insurance plans. That doesn't come out till about November, December, where they will publish those numbers. TRS has decreased minimally to 9.72% of salaries, and ERS has remained the same at about 14.5% of civil service salaries. Our debt service, we always budget here for the anticipation, if we need to go for a revenue anticipation note, which we would do during tax collection time. If we didn't collect regularly our property taxes, we could go for a revenue anticipation note, and this would be the debt service interest on that bond. Currently, we have no other bonds, but this is where we would budget for any capital construction bonds that we would take in the future. Then we have interfund transfers, which will remain the same as this year, and that is mainly $1.3 million to the capital interfund transfer line and to the special aid fund of $425,000. So we're proposing a budget of $78,032,174, which is a 4.67 budget-to-budget increase. The capital interfund transfer, as I said, we want to transfer again $1.3 million to the capital fund, and that could be used for the R.J. Bailey Auditorium roof. Currently, we have received $500,000 from former Assemblyman Abenante through a grant through DASNY, which is the Dormitory Authority of the state of New York, to do the inside of the auditorium. But we need to protect all of our new replacements there, so the auditorium roof would need to be done. We've also received a grant from Senator Stuart Cousins, $500,000 to do the Woodlands Middle High School track, but if we would like to increase that track from 6 to 8 lanes and do some other improvements, it would need more than the $500,000. And we've always spoken about the Highview third grade window wall replacement, which needs to be done, so we've included that also here. On the revenue side, we're going to see an increase in our state aid, as I previously had reported. These still are the only state aid numbers that we have. Foundation aid has been fully phased in, which is accounted for here, as well as our expense-driven aids, which are BOCES and transportation. Currently, as you know, the state still does not have a budget. I know that it's been extended for another week so that state employees can be paid and bills can get paid. Once the budget is settled, though, we may see an increase in state aid, but right now this is all that we know that we will be receiving. We will apply again $2 million from fund balance. And our miscellaneous revenues are going to increase, and that is mainly from, we've seen a increase in our interest income by us switching from one bank to another. We're getting a higher interest rate, and the board has allowed us to invest with the New York Liquid Asset Funds, which is one of the avenues that a municipality can go through to earn interest, and that is at a higher interest rate. So that is reflected here. As well as we collect about 1.11% of the sales tax from Westchester County, and we have seen an increase over the last 3 quarters. And we are anticipating, we get every month, we get what the county has collected, and that has, for this last quarter, also we are going to see an increase. So that is reflected here as well, along with our health and welfare and tuition billing, which had an increase, and we've budgeted for that here also. So to balance this all out, with the expenditure side, we'd have to levy $65,272,377, which would be a 3% increase from tax levy to tax levy. What would the impact be on the taxpayers? I know this is always a big ticket item, and everybody always wants to see what would happen. So if we budgeted the $65.2 million, which would be almost just under a $2 million increase in tax levy to tax levy, the tax rate per 1,000 would drop from $15.15 per 1,000 to $14.62 per 1,000. And that is mainly because the assessment per the town, which our town assessor gives us every March 1st, has increased. Amy and I spoke with Edie McCarthy, who is our town assessor, or who is also our contact person for the town of Greenberg, and she let us know that the assessed value of properties have increased significantly, as is a result in the market value of houses and what they are selling for. Excuse me. So in my example here, if your average assessment on a home is $470,300, the per $1,000 rate would be $470.30. So this year, this taxpayer paid $7,123 in taxes. Next year would pay $6,876. Now, I preface this, as you see in this column, that it says it's a proposed, these are proposed numbers, and that is because the assessors have to hand in their tax rolls to the Office of Real Property Service in New York, in Albany, by March 1st of every school year. The final numbers and the final equalization rates are not released until August 1st. Our budget is passed in May, so these always have to be proposed numbers because we don't know what the actual equalization rates will be. Are there any questions?
Okay, so you want to go first this time? Okay. You go first.
Oh, okay. Okay, hello. Thank you so much for the presentation. I have to get to my notes because I was expecting Trustee Warner to go first. Okay, so can you go back to the first slide when it talked about ECP and the teachers being on the same line? I just have concern because you did go over transportation. So early childhood program teacher year, that's a proposal, right, for something, for them to be on the same line or some the same time. My concern is transportation.
So
If in Never Never Land this happens, are we expecting that everyone will get on the bus at the same time? The expectation?
what this line represents, and Dr. Iverson, Dr. Macaluso, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that these teachers will now work the same number of days that
Not
K through
hours.
12. Right, that as
Not hours.
not hours, right.
Okay.
Same number of days. And the main campus will stay open there,
Okay.
and then the others will be at Jackson. So there is no effect in the 23-24 school year to transportation.
That's what I'm concerned, right? So there's no increase in transportation
Correct.
because of the hourly
Correct.
or the
Correct.
daily change.
Correct.
Do you want to say something? Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I'm not going to ask any more questions because I don't know what's going to be exact or open, but that's one question that I wanted to have understanding around. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, nice presentation. So, the interesting news from Edie McCarthy's office is that we are actually reducing the tax rate, but the assessments are going up. So now I'm looking and I'm trying to do my balancing act between the needs of the taxpayer and the needs of the school district, and I'm having trouble because I don't know what the average increase in the assessment is. Do we have numbers on that?
On an average individual assessment?
Correct. So if I'm a
I don't-
homeowner or if I'm in
Yeah,
a
no, I don't. but we
smaller
could-
property and-
We could call Edie and ask her.
yeah, so if we could figure that out, we
Sure.
would know whether 3% is appropriate or burdensome or what we can deal with. And of course, the other thing, and I'm having the same difficulty here, we dealt with a number of personnel issues in closed session because some of the things we have to deal with, there is an overlap between not only positions but who's in what position and all of that. And so we did a lot of work in closed session. I know that that's kind of in flux, so I'm not 100% sure exactly everything that's included in that 3%. When will we have a better idea of that? Is it within the week?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, good. One thing that's standing out, as far as I know, the last time we looked at the set of positions we were or were not going to include, there was kind of it looks like maybe the safety and security stipend is back in.
Correct.
So I see that as item G.
Correct.
And then there's the position debate, which I think is an open session debate, as to whether you lean in the direction of a security staff kind of person at least at the high school level, or if you lean in the direction of more or less like the social worker side. And so we've got a week, and we're going to come back in that week. So we need to know if we end up with enough money to do anything further about it. We have to have both of those possibilities outlined. So if you say, I want to go for what I think that are the source of the problems, and so what I really think is we need more social workers or more psychologists and that kind of staff, or you go the other way. And so if you can lay out both possibilities, then if we have to make a decision at the last minute, we don't know how much we can afford to spend quite yet, then we'll be able to jump on either option and hash it out in very short order. All right, so that's my request.
Hi. So, I had to ask about the third grade window wall replacement at Highview. And I heard you talk about the donations from Senator Stewart Cousins and Mr. Abenanti. Where is the money for the third grade window wall coming from?
That could come from the 1.3 million.
Okay. Now, when you say it could come from,
That's, the board has to decide.
okay. So then I guess I will talk about that more in Finance and Facilities Committee, because that's a safety issue that's been brought up for years. And so, yeah, I'm just concerned to follow up on that. I did want to ask about the security coordinator stipend. One of the things we talk about sometimes in executive session is a precedent and things that are set that we have to continue because it's been happening for a while. And is this a new thing that we're starting now, that we're then going to have to continue a stipend? that was not done in the
It-
past?
Correct. It's a stipend that we would like to create of $5,000 for the year for somebody to coordinate absences throughout the district and how to distribute evenly so all buildings are covered. To do the wheel, as I call it, for after-school events, mainly sporting events, or say the play that was here, so that everybody who wants that extra time gets equal chances to do it, and it isn't going, somebody has to monitor that, and somebody to help with all of the professional development that we want to do for our security staff.
And who did that prior to the stipend, the business
I
office?
did a lot of it, yes.
So there's no one,
We contracted out for people to do the professional development, yes, but the business office set it up, made the schedule.
I'm sorry, so this
Same thing.
person is going to provide the professional development?
No, it's going to find it and present it to administration for those professional development days, superintendent conference days, et cetera, so that we keep them updated on their CPR training, on the training from BOCES that Dr. Moralia has done in the past, those kind of trainings, to set those up for all of the people, all of our security staff.
Okay, I'm not really okay with that, because all right. I mean, I think we could create $5,000 stipends for like a lot of things that people have to do, but we don't. So, okay, I mean, it's in there, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, anyone else have questions? Trustee Valen?
Sorry, just a quick thing. When we go back to the impact on taxpayers screen, and the question about, what's actually happened with assessments, when you have the average assessment there, is that what we were given, or were we using that $470,000 average assessment as an example? Because if
I use that as that is a taxpayer in our district. That is their example. That is their tax bill.
okay, so then we should fairly easily, fairly quickly get the actual average assessment since
It
the
really would
town
be-
has the
You could look
yeah.
at your tax bill.
Right.
You could see what your average assessment is on the tax bill, divide it by 1,000, and then multiply it by the tax rate.
Right, because generally when things are reassessed, it's 30% goes up, 30% goes down, 30% stays the
Correct.
same. So,
Correct.
okay, that's all.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
To return to our meeting, item C1, committee reports. Trustees, does anyone have a committee report? Trustee Warner?
Okay, I don't have a traditional committee report. There was a PTA council meeting last night, however, and it occurred at the same time as our special board meeting. So I wasn't able to attend, but I did get a letter from the PTA council. I think maybe Dr. Iverson was able to duck her head in at one point. Not sure. It says, We missed you last night, but we knew you were working on the budget. If you have a moment to report this evening, we address the following. Please remind the administration to resend the GCSD PTA Council teacher grant applications to all teachers, as our deadline is fast approaching. The email was sent to administration, PTA units, and liaisons. We are preparing for Candidates Night on Wednesday, May 3rd. It will be in person and will also be streamed on YouTube. The GCSD PTA Council Education Scholarships will be available before the end of the month. We, the committee, will reach out to Dr. Foy to finalize the application availability. All PTA units will be speaking with their membership to determine an end-of-year celebration for all PTA volunteers. That's TBD. We're in the process of forming a nominating committee for next year's PTA Council officers. As President Edith Horn spoke with Dr. Iverson, Edith encouraged each PTA unit this year to work on a literacy-focused project and activities from pre-K to 12th grade. We also want to know if the district will be distributing books for each student this summer. Will there be a reading list on the website for each grade? That's all for now. So do we by any chance know whether there will be a reading list or books distributed this summer?
Are you going to, I don't know yet. Have you decided on that?
So similar to last year, we are going to move forward with this process that we use whereby we provided each student across the district with a paper book, and then we also provided a summer reading website where students might read some additional books, and those would be available through Sora, which is the online format. So one paper book per student, followed by the summer reading website where they can enjoy additional books through Sora.
Thank you.
Trustee Warner, does the PTA council meeting with the administration, right, once a month, or?
Yes, I do meet with the PTA council once a month.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Are there any other updates or committee reports? Trustee Washington?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I have a quick Education and Wellness Committee report. We met on March 27th in the Innovation Lab. Dr. Macaluso and our math coach, Ms. Kelly, was there. I always call her Ms. Kelly. And Dr. Iverson was there. We had our president mayors and our trustee Valen, and we had a community member, I believe, Aaron Jacobson. And there was a data presentation, and they went over the iReady data for the district. They went over demographics. They went over the gender. And the great part about this, it was all on YouTube. So you can go, you can fast forward, you can rewind, you can pause, and you can send questions that you might have in reference to the data that they are using. Some of the questions that came out of it was the summer reading. We were all together and we talked about during the Education and Wellness how they will continue with the summer reading project, and every child will have a book. And we just talked about even their having access to maybe Epic and any other type of device that can also support the reading. We also talked about, I believe it was Algebra for All that was brought up today. And we talked about our progress with our special education when it comes to the state results. So all of that information is on YouTube. So please take a look. It was a wonderful education and wellness meeting. Dr. Macaluso and his committee always has snacks and water. So if you're hungry, you can always have a little bite to eat. We were literally there for an hour and a half. So please come out to the next one. We will have a flyer go out to the community. We will do phone blasts because the education is why we are here. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Washington. I do want to give feedback to you and Dr. Macaluso from parents who watched the YouTube that it was very helpful and informative. There were some parents that had concerns about our scores. They're not great. The movement is good, that it's getting better, but the actual scores are not great, as well as across the state, right? And so parents did express that concern. So I think it's helpful to know and to continue to put education out there on the interventions that are being used to help move that efficiency up. I think, don't quote me, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 2/3 of our students are somewhat not on level, either one grade level below or even lower. So that's a concern to parents that watch that YouTube meeting, and they wanted to know how things are going to continue to get better. So if we can just continue to put information out there. I know the superintendent puts out weekly updates, but just letting people know what are the interventions that are going to be used and things that are going to be done to help bring our kids back up. So we have a higher amount than 1/3 on level. Okay, are there any other committee reports? Trustee Pineda.
Thank you. I have a Safety and Technology Committee report. The Safety and Technology Committee met on Wednesday, March 29th in the Woodlands Middle High School Innovation Lab. The meeting was called to order at 5:44 p.m. In attendance were myself, Trustee Vallon, Trustee Warner, Dr. Macaluso, Ms. Lisa Raymond, and Mr. David Leese. On the agenda, we reviewed the committee charges, which we have now finalized and adopted at the committee level and are actually on the agenda to be discussed here at the board level for approval. From there, we went into reviewing and adopting the previous Safety and Technology Committee meeting minutes that was adopted. We then had a conversation on safety and the Triton vape detectors that have been purchased for the Woodlands Middle High School. They are in. The installation is being coordinated by the Director of Technology and the Director of Facilities. They're working together to have them installed. And they're expecting that those systems will come online sometime during the month of April. We had an update provided on the safety audit. Some of you may have seen it. We hosted a town hall meeting to share the results of the safety audit conducted by CPLS Consulting. We just had a quick summary recap on that. The TAP app, which will be I guess, the next step on augmentation, which will allow staff to initiate an incident in case of a situation on their phones, is being looked at for implementation. That'll be forthcoming in the future. There's a conversation on safety management envelope. The district is looking for a solution that would bring together visitor management, cameras, door access, and other safety features all in under a single management console. That's a future project as well. We had an update on technology with the one-to-one devices. We have been able to shift funds within the technology budget to allow for another emergency purchase of an additional approximately 80 to 100 Chromebooks for students. As of the date of that meeting, they had been ordered, and we were expecting for them to arrive in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And the Chromebooks will be refreshed on a 4-year cycle, starting with the 23-24 school year. What that means is every year there will be a 25% device replacement, essentially, to make sure that the devices are end of life, then we stay current so that it doesn't become this huge purchase all at once. An update on interactive displays. So in the current school year, there's going to be a purchase of an upgrade of several interactive displays throughout the district. These are the displays that are in a lot of the classrooms, which we used to call them smart boards. They still function a lot in that similar way, but they're a little more technology advanced than what they were in the past. And the department is working on conducting walkthroughs in each of the buildings and identifying the priorities and creating a list for replacements. We had a conversation on the website and the direction that the district would like to go in the future. There were some remaining questions related to the proposed web vendors, and we had that conversation during the committee meeting, and we selected, and further later on we'll talk about the actual recommendation. As part of that conversation, we talked about the Civic Plus and the Board of Education website. As you may or may not know, today we have a Civic Plus Board of Education website, which is separate from the main GCSD website, and the conversation along those lines was, do we want to consolidate those, and how do we want to approach that? More to come in a future meeting. We had an update provided on some of the things that were going on around the district. For example, the K-12 PLC engaged in a full-day workshop focused on implementing the K-12 computer science and digital fluency standards into their classrooms. We had an update provided to us on that. As well as some Tech This Out activities that happened throughout the district. ECP students stretched their engineering and design process muscles as they engaged in STEAM activities surrounding X-ray technology and building rockets for space exploration. So that's pretty cool when you think about an ECP student talking about that level of technology and how that integrates with today. Elementary students engaged in media production using green screen and studio equipment, and interviewed staff and other prominent individuals around such topics as Black History Month and the future of technology in the Greenbrook Central School District. Woodland students presented their classroom design challenge projects to their classmates and members of the facilities and technology team. Student recommendations for classroom design will be considered and incorporated into future space upgrades. So when you take a step back and you think about that one, that's actually involving our students in designing their own future classrooms. That's pretty empowering when you think about that. We closed the open session at 6:25 very briefly to have a conversation in closed session. We then opened the session again at 6:40 for a recommendation to be approved. That was the recommendation I mentioned a few moments ago, that the Safety and Technology Committee is recommending the district approve a contract with EdLeo LLC to provide a website and content management system. The motion was moved by Trustee Warner, seconded by Trustee Vaughn. The entire committee agreed. And then we closed the open session at 6:43 p.m. after the recommendation was approved. Then we went back in to closed session to talk about other safety-related topics. So just real quickly on the EdLeo LLC and what we were talking about, essentially we want to migrate the GCSD website to an EdLeo LLC product, which will essentially be a content management system which will allow us to have a single source of data that will feed to a mobile app and be easier to maintain at a building level as well as a centralized level, depending on which way the superintendent, her cabinet decide ultimately to go. But the point is the website will be more user-friendly, it'll be searchable, and it'll have a lot more features built into it than what we currently have today. And the idea is that in the future, using this product, we may be able to use features that we have in other products spread out amongst the district, all consolidated into one. And that was the idea behind it, and that's why the Safety and Technology Committee made that recommendation to the board, and the board will discuss it further and see if we want to move forward with that or not once a contract is available. And that is the end of my committee report. And then just a quick note, FYI, the next Safety and Technology Committee meeting will be on Wednesday, April 26th from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. in the Woodlands Middle High School Innovation Lab. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Pineda. Are there any questions? Trustee Warner?
This is not a question. I wanted to mention that the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting will be held on the 20th of April at 6:30 p.m. It will be in person here at Woodlands and also available online through Zoom.
Thank you. Trustee Pineda, the only question I have is about EdLeo, and you probably clarified this, but just to put it home because I'm not a tech person, with this new program, the Board of Ed website will be a part of the district website still, or is it going to be separate still?
So it will be part, the BOE website will be made a part of the GCSD main website. And how we go about that between now and the time contracts are up and all that, that's still being discussed. But the point is, at the end of the whole roadmap, the Board of Education website will be a page within the main GCSD website.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Any other committee reports? Hearing none, let's move on. Now we have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Trustee Mayers, and good evening, everyone. I want to begin by thanking all the board members and administrators, teachers, parents, and students who participated in the IB on-site review. And we heard it mentioned tonight, although we are waiting on the full report, by all observations and from the examiners who I met with virtually, they appear very impressed with our district IB program. And so special thanks to Ms. Sador, director, who coordinated the full week of meetings. I'm sure Dr. Macaluso may add some more comments in his report. Next week, ELA state testing begins for grades 3 through 8. It will be administered the week of, not next week, but yes, next week, April 19th through the 21st, 2023. ELA state assessment, grades 3 through 8 will begin. There is a correction in the dates for the math assessment for grades 3 through 8. The calendar incorrectly lists the state math assessment as beginning April 25th through April 27th. The correct dates are May 2nd through May 4th. So please mark the change in your calendars, and this has been updated on the district website. Also, parents, please check the calendar. It's on page 4. You can see the full listing of tests and dates for all of the state tests that will be administered to grades 3 through 8. The calendar, by the way, was, if I can remind parents, was mailed to the homes of all parents during the summer, and that full calendar as well is also on the district website. And of course, please make sure your child has a nutritious breakfast, gets a good night's sleep, attends school every day, and is on time so they can do their very best. We appreciate it, and thank you for that. The 2023-24 district calendar, monthly calendar, has been approved by the board. It was approved at our last board meeting, March 28th. It is also posted on the district website. So parents, you can go check the new calendar out for the next school year. As you will see, the calendar includes an increase in the number of professional development days for administrators, faculty, and staff as we continue to roll out our new initiatives next year, many that you heard about in the budget presentation, but focused on safety and security, extending our focus on social emotional learning to include restorative practices, focused on our focus on math and literacy, going deeper in those areas, and our new area focus on diversity, equity, and inclusivity as we begin to incorporate those principles from the New York State Cultural Responsive and Sustaining Education Framework, focused on welcoming and affirming environments, inclusive in curriculum and assessments, high expectations and rigorous instruction, and ongoing professional development and support. So the calendar is on the website. Take a look at that, and you can see those dates that have been increased. Healthy Kids, we are having a before and after school program next year. The district will be partnering with the Healthy Kids Before and After Care program for parents who are interested to support you in that before and after care, if you care to take advantage of that. More information is forthcoming. Please pay attention to my weekly messages. You will get more information every week on that program. This spring, the district will host and showcase the outstanding creative and artistic talent of our students in a district-wide art gallery opening at the Greenberg Town Hall for all of our community to attend. More details, again, will follow. I'm sure Dr. Macaluso will have more to say about that, but watch for details about this phenomenal event that we're reinstituting this year. And very briefly in my closing, and this is an exciting time of year, many end-of-the-year activities are beginning to happen. This is the time for all of us to stay focused and to continue to do our very best and end the year strong. We have students, I'm talking to you as well, we have approximately 2 months in school. I want to encourage all of you to continue to come to school every day, be prepared, ready to work, and finish this year very strong. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Iverson. Now it's board president's report. So the only thing I really wanted to bring up, and I'll keep it quick, is that the month of April is Autism Awareness Month. And for those of you that are not sure of what autism is or what autism means, it just means that the brain works a little bit differently. And why this is important is because throughout the state in education, we're always talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're talking about making sure everyone is considered. And the fact of the matter is we all think differently from one another. The way that I think, the way that I communicate is different than the way Trustee Pineda thinks or the way Trustee Pineda communicates. And so a child who is autistic or student, which is what we're concerned about here, the student who is autistic thinks differently. And our educators have to find different and unique ways to educate our students. And our students who are not diagnosed as autistic can find creative ways as well to communicate and get along and include our students who are autistic. So I just wanted to draw the attention to everyone to not forget that this month is Autism Awareness Month and continue to get to know each other and get to know one another's differences. Next on the agenda, we have the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, and Personnel.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to inform the community that our parent university on problem solving that was originally scheduled for 4/19 will now be rescheduled to 4/26. I understand that there is a PTA event happening on the 19th, and so we have moved that to the 26th so that we can accommodate as many parents as possible. Dr. Iverson spoke about the New York State testing program, so I'll just kind of remind everybody again that that is happening, no additional pieces for that. The Regents waiver information, I had previously reported on that, and again, parents, I want to remind you that that information is available on the GCSD website in the news section. So if you scroll down, there is a link there where parents can download a form that they can complete and submit to Mr. Smith, Woodlands Middle High School principal, so that the Regents' appeal may be considered. And that link also has all of the information about who's eligible for that waiver. I want to just remind the community again about Advanced Learning Program and the process for that for the Advanced Learning Program moving forward. So there is a page on the Curriculum and Instruction website that speaks about that. So again, for reminders for the parents, if your child is currently in ALP, no additional measures will be needed to move forward for next year. If your child was tested last year and did not qualify, parents may request a rescreen, and they can do that by either emailing myself or their school principal. And please know that we have not set a date yet for that. That is because we try to make sure that we conduct ALP testing as far away from state exams as possible so that we're not overwhelming our students. So please be on the lookout for that, but expect that that would happen sometime after the math assessment, which is in early May. I want to elaborate on the Writing Revolution contest that Mr. Brady and Ms. Henriquez spoke about in their presentation. That was also highlighted in Dr. Iverson's weekly report, I believe, a week ago. I just want to also give a shout out to our students in the grade 3 through 5 band who were recognized for that. In first place, we have Caden from Richard Bailey, who's a 5th grader and received an iPad. And third place, Sophia, a 4th grader at Bailey. So congratulations to those students as well. And again, thank you to all of our teachers who continue to push the rigor for our students in their writing skills. Woodlands Middle High School is in the process of working on Regents Prep for the spring semester, so the second semester. So within this week, you will be receiving calls and or notices, parents, from Woodlands Middle High School staff informing you of your child's need to attend some Regents Prep. So again, we are providing that support because we want our students to have all the academic supports that they need in order to be successful for that. So when you receive that phone call, please know that the attendance would be mandatory for your child to participate, and that is an after-school program. Any other conflicts, for example, with sports or things like that, we will try to make arrangements for that, but know that this is an important piece that we want to make sure that your students are accomplishing proficiency on those exams. And then finally, just to elaborate on what Dr. Iverson mentioned regarding the art show, that is scheduled for May 9th. At Greenberg Town Hall.
Thank you, Dr. Macaluso. Are there any questions or comments at all from anyone?
Do we have an opening time?
Not at this time, Trustee Warner, but I will inform. I looked at the calendar. I think we have another board meeting right before that, right? So I will give the time at that, and we'll also post it on the website. And I'm sure Dr. Iverson will put the time in her weekly update.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Macaluso, as a parent, I was part of a meeting in which ALP came up and ALP retesting, and there was a question about parents being aware that they have to request a retest, as well as it came up whether or not, like, if a teacher sees a student that may benefit from ALP level of instruction, is it possible, is that a pathway? Can a teacher say, hey, look, Tracy seems to get this information very quickly, or Tracy seems to need a lot of pushing, maybe, Tracy would do better in the ALP track of instruction. Is that a pathway that we're also exploring in case the parent is not aware or does not ask for the testing? Is that a pathway that then the teacher maybe speak to the building leader and maybe a conversation with the parent, or does it have to be parent-led?
So that is actually not currently a procedure that's in place, but it's noted and something that we can look into. Mm-hmm. And I'll inform the principals what the decision is on that.
Thank you. Yes, Trustee Washington.
So, Dr. Macaluso, in reference to ALP, I would just like to make sure that all students have access. And when we look at the demographics of ALP, are we representing who we are as Greenberg Central School District? So that means, who are we? What are our demographics? Is everyone represented in that class? And I know we're talking about testing, but I know you guys get tired of hearing me. Historically, the tests have been biased, and tests have been put in place to keep certain people out. So I'm just, Dr. Macaluso, as you are here and you are coming up with different ideas and you build your committee and you speak with the principals, I would like multiple entry points to be made. So students that might have got 2 points shy of what we call a criteria still have the opportunity. And as we look at instruction in ALP, we should not have a separatist or elitist mindset where only these students can participate or be exposed. That all students should be exposed to high-level instructional strategies, and different approaches to instruction. But at the same time, now that you are proficient from the state test, from the iReady test, I can push you and challenge you even the more. I might not have to set up interventions, but I could push you and challenge you. But it's not like a separatist mentality where in ALP, we do this strategy, but it doesn't live in the building. So I know, you only been here a year and a half, 2 years, so I'm just pushing that. Let's have multiple entry points. Let's make sure all students demographically are represented in our programs, and let's make sure that all students are being exposed to high-level instructional practices, but then at the same time, what enrichments can we challenge students that we're telling the community these students are proficient in ELA and math? How am I pushing them to another level? So that's just my thing when it comes to ALP. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Washington. Any other questions, concerns? I keep seeing Trustee Warner move, so I don't know if you're thinking of a question. No? Okay, great. All righty. We're going to move on. Our next report is C5, Assistant Superintendent for Business Report. Ms. Raymond.
Thank you, Trustee Mayers. We began the month of February 2023 with a balance of $40,235,138.07. We deposited cash receipts of $18,382,183.79 and dispersed $6,342,939.80. So we ended the month of February between our cash account and our investment accounts with $52,274,382.06. The Nutrition Committee meets again this Thursday, April 13th, and we will be going over the model wellness policy. The committee then will be passing on their recommendations to the policy committee, the governance committee? Is that policy committee? Over spring break, we had a classroom floor replacement at R.J. Bailey, which included asbestos abatement and a new subfloor. We also did the same at the ECP main building. A classroom and an office had the floor abated, and the classroom floor at ECP had to be leveled, which was not expected, and that was completed. And the new floor is scheduled to be installed this week. Work continues on the mansion roof. The main section of the roof has been completed, and they're working on the smaller flat roof sections at this time. The lead abatement at Highview of the door jambs in 3 classrooms was also abated over spring break. The test results from the Department of Health have been received, and they have cleared the project. The door jambs were then primed and repainted. The Woodlands Middle High School cafeteria received their new steamer table. It has been installed and put into service. And then there was a light pole at LF Jackson that was loose and leaning, and that has been reset and stabilized. I have been working with Amy and people in my office on the 2 different security grants, one with Dr. Moralia, and his team, and then one with Motorola. So those are in process and should be submitted within the next month. And that's all I have.
Great. Trustee Washington, and then Valen, Dr. Macaluso, did you have your hand up? I see you moving. I just see things moving, so I, okay. So you don't want to, okay. So Trustee Valen, do you want to go first? Great.
Just a quick, can you give us an update on the school lunches? I know you were looking into how we could get the snacks included possibly for this year, but definitely for next year. I don't remember.
Okay, so the snacks, we couldn't get into that program for this year because we didn't offer it throughout the whole year. So for the next school year, we would have to offer it to everybody who is after school for one reason or another, sports, an extracurricular activity, after-school program. We could apply for it then. And then that other grant for free lunch for everyone, that just opened, and we will be in the process of applying for that also.
So you said that there were classrooms leveled at ECP and Bailey, and you said everything is complete. So can you just go over what happened and?
Sure. So at RJ Bailey's, over the years, we have been doing at Bailey a different floor during breaks. Because we know that we have asbestos, we can't just go in, remove the floor. Obviously, we have to abate it. So we would do that over any one of our longer breaks because we have to give the 10-day notice. The abatement has to happen, then it has to be cleared by EnviroScience, and then the floor can then be laid down. So that's what happened at Bailey. At ECP, the same thing happened, but when they removed the floor in the one classroom that was being removed, that was being replaced, they found that under the tile were several different floors. One was wood, part was ceramic tile, part was just a slab. So what had to happen was, because that was unexpected, that now had to be leveled so that it was an even surface. That was done. I believe Dennis called that a subfloor. That's done. That had to be cured. We now, this week, will go ahead and install the tiles on the floor.
Okay, so what's going on with that classroom and the children? They just went somewhere else?
So what we did was we knew that it wouldn't be ready for when school started yesterday. So we made sure that Dennis had a carpet laid over the floor. And then once school was out, that's when the contractors are in there doing the work. So I believe they're expected to come tomorrow to finish laying the tile. That should then be cured and dried. And then Dennis's crew that comes in early at 6 a.m. will be there, and the contractor has also said that they will be there to help us move everything back in there so it's ready for the students when they arrive.
Okay, and then the last thing, the roads going to the football field?
The driveway?
Yeah. Remember we talked about how many potholes it had? I haven't been over there. Has that been corrected? Because we talked about that, I think it was the beginning in September, October.
They may have been filled in at the time, but now that the winter is over, they might need some more work, but I will double check that. I've been down there and I don't remember a lot of potholes, but I will double check with Dennis.
Yeah, just double check because I know it's really bad during football season.
Yep.
So we have brought it up and I just wanted to bring it up again just to see the update on that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Valen, you have another question?
Yes, sorry. I'm going to, if I may, just go back quickly to the budget and the capital interfund transfer amounts. As far as the timeline, so we need to, at what point do we, okay. So identifying the projects that would be included in that interfund transfer.
Correct.
Do we need to have that final list by next week, April 18th, or by
Yes.
the budget hearing, or what's our
Nope.
deadline for that?
It would be by, well, as long as we say that we're going to have the 1.3 in there, I would say the drop dead date, because it has to be advertised to the taxpayers what
Right.
we're going to do with that money, would have to definitely be then by the annual meeting. when we present it to the public.
But does that need to be included in the newsletter and those other things that get
Yes.
mailed out? So
Yes, it
that date
does.
would be before the budget hearing, or,
That
I don't know, the
actually,
publication?
now that you say that, I would say that I would want it to be done by the 18th because Ms. Burton and I will be working on the newsletter.
Okay, so since the Finance and Facilities Committee isn't meeting until the 20th, we probably need to, so I'm just going to throw something out there. At one of the previous presentations, we mentioned bathroom renovations. I know we've talked off and on in Finance and Facilities about the public-facing bathrooms. So I'm just
By
going to
the-
put a plug
by the
in for,
gymnasium?
by the gymnasium. So I'm going to put a
So-
plug in to, if it's possible, to have those in. This one person throwing an idea out there, but I don't know when we're going to have the conversation, since we have to do this by next Tuesday.
So it
Have
was
the
going to
conversation
be
now.
my recommendation to the board to do, because the R.J. Bailey Auditorium project is further ahead than the track, okay? And we've seen how long it has taken for us to get through the process with the auditorium. I would say, my recommendation would be that we schedule the roof to be done. I agree with Trustee Mayer saying that the high view window walls need to be done, and then perhaps bathrooms, and those could be added to it, and leave off the track right now because it's kind of stalled. I've been in touch with our representative through DASNY, and he says that it's still in the process. They don't need any more information. He'll let me know when they do, so it's really waiting on them.
So I don't know if I'm sure you have estimates on these, but Trustee Warner, I don't remember. My brain is full of things right now. If we also have that information from your committee, if we could somehow get that, just the breakdown of various items in the Friday packet, so that maybe we have a fuller discussion next Tuesday. But I hear your recommendation, so thank you for that.
So the thing that I don't have, I know that there was difficulty with about $50,000 worth of the $500,000 was to be for a patch of the roof. That was then disallowed. They said you can use it towards replacement, but not for a patch. And then the question is, how much would it cost to replace just the section of the roof over the auditorium? We had pushed back to the architects on that, and I hadn't seen a response. Have you seen a response yet, Lisa?
Yes,
Good.
I do, and I'll include that in the Friday packet. And I also have the price from the architects on the
Bathroom.
high view window wall.
The window wall.
Yes, we have that.
Yes, I have
definitely.
that.
So
You can add them up and.
well, that's my question too. Do we not have our own money, right, once the budget passed, just to even renovate a bathroom? Like, is that, it's seeming like it's a capital project to do a bathroom. So that's what I would like to know. If it came down to the budget pass, you have the auditorium, you have the wall at Highview, you have the track, like you have all these things already going. Do we not have money to renovate a bathroom?
We could use money to repair the bathroom. 'Cause you
And
have a
and your
repair reserve.
definition of repair is?
It's not my definition of a repair.
No, it is, because because you're the one that said repair.
It's not a gut the bathroom and redo it. That is not a repair.
So you're saying get a new toilet? I mean, what are we saying? Because when we're looking at the bathroom, what is the assessment of what we need?
I'm not sure that has been completely done for all of the bathrooms that need attention.
Well, Trustee Valen was talking about the one by the gym.
But I think this is an important issue because, and we've talked about it in finance and facilities as well, the difference between a repair and a replacement, or as you said, like gutting the bathroom is a
Right.
complete replacement of the bathroom. And there is a definition, there has to be some sort of legal, line where it becomes, yes?
Okay,
Yes.
so I know that there is a method of withdrawing some money from the repair reserve fund and moving it into capital projects if we need to. And you can fold some of that into the budget if you need public input on it, and you can, as of a board resolution, if you need to do that instead. So it may be that what you need to do is add up the numbers and say, hey, can we add this bathroom in? And if the numbers aren't quite there for the bathroom in that 1.3 million, then we move a little money from the repair reserve fund.
Ms. Raymond? Just scratching your head. I don't know.
Well, I think we need to, we are definitely making sure the roofs are a priority. We're definitely, we're talking about having what is it called? A bond. We're talking about these things, but it seems as if the bathrooms always seem to get ignored. And, we know that students thrive, and this is research-based, in a clean environment. So that bathroom and many bathrooms throughout the district need some type of repair. And it's like we need to just focus on it. If it's a repair, we need to know what are the repairs. If it's some paint that will make it look better, plus have a real sink, have water pressure come out of the faucet, and have, a nice toilet, then that's what we need to do. But we can't just ignore certain things that directly affect our students. And that bathroom by the gymnasium is well used by the public, by the students, and I'm even getting to the point where we haven't even discussed the locker rooms. But that's a whole nother thing maybe for next year. So I guess I'm just going to press it because we brought this up, I think, even at Bailey, their bathrooms, there are some bathrooms that need to be redone. It's been talked about for years and it has not got done. But that bathroom by the gym is totally embarrassing. So I'm going to ask you to do due diligence and please find out what needs to be done so that we can find money to fix the road going to the football field, to fix our tennis courts, to fix our bathrooms. I mean, there's a list of things, but we have to take the time to fix our district. So I just wanted to bring that up. I'm really sorry for that. Trustee Valen, you can go ahead. Okay.
Okay, are there any more questions, comments? Yes, Trustee Pineda?
My one comment is, while I agree in principle that we have to change everything, we have to repair everything, we do have to prioritize because there's only a limited amount of funds. With that said, if we had to choose between a bathroom or additional lanes for the track, I would say then, let's not add additional lanes to the track. Let's replace the track as we agreed on, as what it is there, and take the surplus or whatever the difference is. And if we want to prioritize it for the bathrooms, then so be it. But my point is, we shouldn't go, if we want to keep running at this pace that we're going, then we may need to scale back on some of our other things to make up the difference. Because ultimately, we only have so much money to deal with. So if that's the desire of the board, then I would say, let's forget about adding additional lanes to the track and take the difference and put that towards whatever we feel is the next priority on the list. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, we're going to move on to our next item, which, yes, Trustee Valen?
Sorry, just since I guess we're not on committees, but I did have a question. I don't know if anyone knows if the CEC committee meeting is still happening on Wednesday the 12th. That's tomorrow.
That's Jamal's baby, and he's not here.
I didn't know.
So what we did last time was we rescheduled the meeting. So I've got to go talk to him after this and see what he wants to do. Last time he moved things out by a week.
Thank you. I just see it's on the calendar, so I wanted to check.
Right, but I don't want to go forward without the committee chair. Right.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, next we have on the agenda item C6, public comments. Are there any public comments? No, and next we have executive session, item D1. Can I get a motion?
I move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss the employment history of particular persons, personnel matters, and/or employee records, and matters deemed confidential by state or federal law, including seeking advice from counsel.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We're now in executive session. The time is now 8:20 p.m. Thank you. Hey, are we live?
You're live.
Okay, wonderful. It's 12:08 a.m. and we've returned from executive session. The first item up for agenda is E1, work session approvals. Can I get a motion for personnel instructional items?
I move that we approve the instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening, with the exception of item F4, which is being tabled.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Item E2, personnel, non-instructional items.
I move that we approve the non-instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item E3, board action items.
I move that we approve the board action items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. E4, pupil personnel services items.
I move that we approve the pupil personnel services items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. We're going to move ahead in the agenda to item J, which is a review agenda items for next meeting. We have J1, J2, J3, J4, J5, J6, J5. It doesn't say. It says for blank to serve as trustees with the S. Absolutely. So we need to find that out. Maybe, can you find that out and let us know? Okay. What were you going to say, Trustee Pineda? No, okay. It's late. Okay. Thank you, Trustee Valen, for pointing that out. J6, J7.
I have something for J7. It's for Lisa Raymond.
Yeah, just say it.
Okay, so I'll have her look at check number 221. It's a check totaling $123,813.78. It's in a warrant report for 3/10/23. It talks about items due to general fund from trust and agency payments. And I kind of want to know, they seem to vary from $331 to $30,000. I thought maybe they were clubs, but I don't think anything would be that large.
Right.
So I want to know, what are the items that make up this large
Can you
check?
put that in an email and send to her?
Yes, I will do that.
That would be helpful. Check number.
Check number 221
221.
and warrant report for 3/10/23. Yeah.
221.
Okay.
221. Okay. J8, J9, J10, J11. What do we say we doing, J?
Right, I was
Didn't
going to
we
say,
just
what are we
that?
talking about?
J11, the
Wait.
administration's going to follow up on.
All right, well, this is going to be a maybe.
Right,
depending on
because I
what-
thought that was also for J2.
J2.
They were going to follow up on J2,
Let me go
wasn't it?
back. I'm going to look right now.
Is that what Trustee Valen we were talking about?
J2,
Am I
yes.
right? Okay.
So J2, J7,
Mm-hmm.
J11,
And then J12.
J12 too?
Yeah. J12 was the program
Yes.
that attached to J2.
J11.
Got it. J2,
Yeah.
J11, J12. Y'all are on it tonight. This is wonderful. Okay. J13, J14, J15. Okay. Next, we have closing items. Any new business? Going once, hearing none? Yes? Okay. Hearing none, we have item K2, 2, board meeting calendar. Hearing none?
Wait.
Yes, trustee Valen?
I know, everybody wants to leave. Just taking a quick look at this. Where is it? In May. Just going to propose, I don't know if there's a reason, maybe it's BOCES election, some sort of elections. I know there's a thing we usually have conflict with. Instead of the 28th, why are we not doing the 21st? Just so it's not the day after a holiday?
That's the
Oh.
Board of Ed vote.
Excellent reason. Okay. And as far as the other thing I'd like to note, in June, I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, in June we usually put in the work session ahead of the July reorg meeting. Should June 25th be our work session ahead of the July reorganization meeting?
It's usually 3 meetings in June, is that what you're
Yeah,
talking
well,
about?
in my experience.
Yeah, it is usually, so it should be, why is it 26th? Yeah, so the 25th needs to be a meeting as well.
A work session.
Right.
So I also have a question. April 2nd, is there a reason why it's not April 9th and then April 30th? Yeah, spring break was the week before.
Right.
And
so
then
it
we
should
come
be
back.
pushed down.
So it was March 24th to the 30th, and then April 2nd, it's just a question. And then I know there's the 10th has blue.
As professional
Okay.
development.
Right, so just wondering, if you could look, only because it'll give us like another week
So
of
let's
cushion.
table this then for now.
Okay.
Until we get, yeah, so we need to put a work session on the 25th. We need to look at the possibility of moving the April dates down a week. Yes, trustee Valen?
Well, going to April, I agree with the move to the 9th if it's not going to mess up professional development, but maybe it could stay the 23rd. Wait, no, that's a day off. Never mind. Just because when you moved, yep,
It's a day off?
I mixed up the colors.
Okay.
This 23rd is a day off,
Oh, yeah.
so,
But we could have a meeting
you're
on
right.
Wednesday or Monday instead.
right. But the 9th and the 30th or the 9th and the 16th
So the
is
thing
what you're
about moving
looking
it
at.
to the 30th is then you have the 30th and the 7th. Either
Right.
way, we're going to have back-to-back.
Right, exactly.
So then why wouldn't you move the 7th to the 14th
Yeah,
in May?
You could move this, because, we could.
we could.
Yep.
And the budget vote is when?
I can't follow.
21st.
Okay, wait a minute.
What did you say, May 1st?
I'm getting confused. Okay, so
21st.
April 9th,
Oh, 21st, I'm like,
April 9th, April 30th,
so we should have.
then
14th.
May 14th, and June 25th.
But they should be done
Why
by
wouldn't we
May.
do the budget hearing April 30th?
We could, and it should be done in May.
Yeah.
I mean, in April, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the budget hearing is. All right, so it's tabled, this is going to be tabled.
Yes.
Does anyone want to make a motion to do that? So we can take it off the agenda?
No, but I'm glad you're talking about it, and I just want to put out there that as a district, we really need to start looking and honoring other cultures, and I brought it up last year, and now Ardsley is doing it, adding more to their schedule, so, their calendar. So it
Yeah.
would be nice if, as Greenberg, we start considering that.
Does anyone want to make a motion to table this, or we're not?
I move to table the board, and tell me if I'm right, I move to table the board calendar,
K2,
K2. Thank you.
is there a second?
Second.
Oh, it's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I don't hear ayes. Christine, can you?
Well,
pull
Chris
the
was
board,
saying
please?
something.
Well, discussion. It's not a voting item, it's a discussion item.
resolution says.
I didn't know that.
What?
There's no resolution, right?
Right. So we didn't really need to table it. We're just,
So you didn't want to hear my
Ending
lovely
discussion.
voice at 12 o'clock at night?
I'm so confused. It's way too late.
we're just ending the
Okay.
discussion. There's no resolution to table.
Hold on.
So we don't need
It's a
to,
closing item.
It's over. over.
There is no.
It's so over.
Thank you. So can you rescind the motion?
I take it back, I
Thank
take
you
it back,
very much.
and I take it
There
back.
we go.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Wonderful, thank you.
Second.
You probably moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Good
Time is
night,
now
12:18
Good night.
a.m. Good night.